The theatre was hushed. The lights dimmed to a soft golden glow, and the murmurs of the crowd slowly faded into silence. At the center of the stage stood a boy, barely 15, slender, his clothes too big for his frame, his sneakers worn at the edges. His name was Daniel. To most, he looked like just another contestant on a talent show. But to Daniel, this was everything. It was the moment that could change not just his life, but the life of the person he loved most, his mother. Daniel's hands trembled as he held the microphone, and for a moment, the judges wondered if he would freeze. His dark brown eyes scanned the audience, not in search of applause, but for courage. In the second row, he caught sight of his mother, her face pale, her scarf tied carefully around her head, hiding the toll that illness had taken on her. She gave him the smallest smile, one filled with both encouragement and apology, as if to say, "I'm sorry you have to carry so much weight." Daniel swallowed hard, lifted his chin, and whispered into the microphone, "This song, this is for my mom." The opening chords began, gentle, haunting, the unmistakable notes of Hotel California. The audience leaned in, expecting a shaky, nervous attempt. Instead, what poured from Daniel's lips was a voice that didn't belong to a boy, but to an old soul. It was raw, rich, textured with pain yet lifted by hope. Every note carried a story untold, every phrase held the weight of nights spent watching over his mother, every pause reflected dreams deferred for survival. The theatre was transformed. No longer was it just a stage, it became a sanctuary where grief, love, and longing intertwined in the form of a song. Even the crew members behind the cameras forgot their tasks and found themselves drawn in. Halfway through, Daniel closed his eyes and let go of fear. He sang not for fame, not for the judges, but for the woman who had sacrificed everything so he could dream. His mother had once been a singer herself, with a voice that could hush crowded cafes. But illness stole her strength, and the world had moved on. Still, she had poured every ounce of love into Daniel, teaching him not only music, but resilience, humility, and kindness. As Daniel's voice soared into the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The audience rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even crying. The judges, who had sat through countless auditions, exchanged glances of awe. This wasn't just talent. This was truth, vulnerability, and soul. Then came the unexpected. One of the judges, a stern critic known for rarely showing emotion, leaned forward. His eyes glistened as he whispered, almost to himself, "This boy isn't singing, he's surviving." By the time Daniel reached the final note, the theatre was thunderstruck in silence before erupting into applause. Tears streamed down his mother's cheeks as she held her chest, overwhelmed by the love her son had poured into every syllable. The head judge, moved beyond words, stood up. She pressed her hand against the golden buzzer. A moment later, the theatre exploded in light and sound as golden confetti rained down from above. Daniel dropped the microphone in shock, his knees buckling under the weight of it all. But instead of basking in his own glory, Daniel ran off the stage, straight to his mother. He knelt before her, confetti still in his hair, and wrapped his arms around her trembling frame. "We did it, Mom," he whispered. "This is for you." The cameras captured every second, but what mattered most was invisible, the unbreakable bond between a boy and his mother, a love so pure that it moved the world. And yet, the story didn't end there. What the audience didn't know was that Daniel had been on the edge of giving up just days before the audition. Their bills were piling up, eviction was looming, and his mother's treatment seemed out of reach. He had told her he couldn't leave her side long enough to chase a dream. But she, frail and breathless, had placed her hand on his and said, "Daniel, your voice is my hope. If you stop singing, I stop fighting." Those words echoed in his heart as he walked onto that stage, and they became the fire behind every note of Hotel California. The golden buzzer wasn't just a ticket to the next round. It was a symbol, a lifeline. Sponsors and charities who watched the show reached out. Donations poured in, not just for Daniel's journey, but for his mother's care. Strangers sent letters, prayers, and encouragement, touched by the story of a boy who chose love over fear, sacrifice over comfort. The world didn't just see a talented teenager. They saw themselves, their struggles, their losses, their hopes, reflected in Daniel's song. He had become a mirror of humanity's shared pain and resilience. Months later, his mother, stronger and healthier thanks to the treatments that were now possible, stood in the same theater as Daniel sang again. This time, she didn't just watch. She sang softly along, her voice fragile but filled with pride. And for Daniel, that was the greatest reward, more than fame, more than stages or lights. Because sometimes, the true golden buzzer isn't a button on a stage. It's the moment when love breaks through despair, when compassion transforms strangers into family, when music becomes medicine for the soul. Daniel's story became a reminder to millions: greatness isn't measured by how loud the world applauds, but by how deeply your heart loves. And as the final curtain fell on that chapter of his life, Daniel whispered the same words he had spoken on stage: "This is for you, Mom."